And hi, I'm Cindy. Welcome to Pearls of Liberty, Saturday, July 13th, 2013.
And we have a bunch of stories here.
First, we wanted to mention the fact that Alex Jones had Wayne Madsen as a guest yesterday, and this is the link to that portion of the show, which was very worthwhile and highly recommended.
Yeah, I've been thinking ever since the Snowden case broke, or this spying became major news, that the perfect person for Alex to have on would be Wayne Madsen, because of his background with the NSA and because he fully understands this stuff. And there's all this. There's various speculation, including by people that we highly respect, like John Rappaport, that figures that it's all a con game and it's all a setup and that Snowden thing isn't real. So Alex asked Wayne Madsen point blank, is Snowden for real? And he said, yeah, this stuff comes in waves. There's new levels of revelation that's coming out, and yeah, this is for real. So I was glad to hear that, because I've been thinking that it's real. And Wayne didn't get into a whole lot of detail, but here's what I suspect is happening, that I think Rappaport is right, that without some kind of protection, the NSA could off him in a minute, but there's other things going on. There's white hats protecting him, and there's also the knowledge that if they kill him, there is more damning information that is set to be released on his death, and there's an article here about that. So it's a complex situation, and I think it is bearing excellent fruit. We have Americans waking up right and left about this police state, and if there's any single thing that people could unite on and focus on, that could bring down the New World Order, or at least cause it to begin to crumble, I think it's this police state spy grid awareness and the revolt against that. So I think this is great stuff.
Yeah, he evidently has some further information than what he's released, too, because Snowden has enough information to cause harm to the U.S. government in a single minute than any other person has ever had. So I guess that's supposed to be more harm. And the U.S. government should be on its knees every day begging that nothing happens to Snowden, because if something does happen to him, all the information will be revealed, and it's the government's worst nightmare. I'm guessing this is the black box in the show Nikita that has all the knows where all the all the closets where
all the deepest, darkest
hidden.
secrets. Yeah, it's definitely something like that. I don't think it's an idle threat. I think this is for real. But and I also think it's true that this is not one guy that did this on his own with a thumb drive. I think that this really is a war between the spooks, and there are good spooks in primarily the CIA. Not that the CIA is all good by any stretch of the imagination, but as Rappaport says, this is a CIA-NSA turf war, and I really think that the good CIA are fed up to the hilt and picked Snowden to be their man to get this information out into the open. You need a point man. That serves a couple of purposes, one of which is the media focus, and there you've got something less nebulous than various groups of people. It just makes a better story, and the people that are crafting this are experts in media focus and manipulation. They know what can cause a story to grow, and it's happening. So yeah, great stuff.
And evidently his information must be with someone who will release it upon his death. And yesterday, the military sergeant who is a friend of Michael Hastings stated on the Alex Jones show that there is evidently an attorney who knows what Michael Hastings was working on that got him killed. So that information is out there somewhere. And maybe he's already made a deal to keep it quiet. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I really hope that information begins to come out. You don't want to get 11 people trying to protect it and be here. The best advice for whistleblowers is get your information out there, and if you're in danger for your life, you have people know that the worst information is set to be released on your death. They're doing exactly the right thing. So I really do hope that that information comes out from Michael Hastings' attorney and or other people.
And since a lot of what Snowden talked about was privacy, this is also just a huge issue right now. And there are a lot of articles on all sorts of Liberty News websites. One thing I find really interesting about there is no right to privacy. In the 70s, when Roe v. Wade was being argued before the Supreme Court, the people who wanted abortions to be accessible through, legally, were arguing that a woman has a right to privacy to do as she wants with her own body. And that very right to privacy argument was what allowed for abortions to become legal. And I just find it incredibly hypocritical for the government on the one hand to allow common law to be broken, do no harm, that harm is done through the right to, what's implied right to privacy is what it was called. But the actual rights to privacy that were given in the Bill of Rights, we are now being denied.
Yeah. I thought that the hypocrites were the right-wing Christians that said that they were for people to be set free, but then they're denying people the right to their own bodies. I thought that was the hypocrites. I'm all confused now.
Is that who you thought the hypocrites were?
Yeah, I thought the hypocrites were all the Christians. I don't get it. I'm all confused.
Well, we'll have to straighten him out later, won't we? You can all leave comments on the video for Don and help him understand. So this was a little bit of bad news yesterday. Kind of funny in a way. New phone app helps tattle on neighbors with guns. And we have the link to it. And somebody on the Alex Jones show yesterday was suggesting that people report 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and various government places.
Yeah, you have to stand there. You have to physically be there for a minute. So not everybody can do it. You have to be in that location. But I want to get back to the whole concept of right to privacy and the whole idea of public and private. This is a huge area, more than an area. It's a territory divider in the legal system, in the Western legal system, not just the United States, but all of the West. And this whole idea that you can go back to the other graphic because the idea that see all those little marks where they're pointing out where dangerous gun owners live. Well, is that public information or is that private information? At what point does it become the public's right to know where people are? I think you could make a case that, and there are apps for this where you can look up people that are sex offenders, because that's a matter of public record. You can go down to the courthouse and you can find out where sex offenders live, and all the app is doing is it's making that same public information more accessible. But in the case of a national gun registry or being able to see where gun owners live, I don't think that's supposed to be public information. So I think this is a real problem here. I think, yeah, you have rights for law enforcement to be able to know that. I don't think for a minute that gun laws are constitutional. But given that they are there, the only law enforcement officers and other related people are supposed to have access to this stuff. So I think there's a serious problem with apps like this just on purely legal grounds.
I don't know if there would be, because it's just an app that somebody puts out there. It's like a game. Like, are they responsible for the way that people use it? Who's actually responsible?
Well, I think the key thing is how do they have access to that information? And I guess if somebody doesn't bring a lawsuit against them saying that you shouldn't have this, I guess there is some kind of a public um, availability of such a list. Otherwise, they couldn't be doing it, right? So there must be some way that they're getting away with this. It just doesn't seem right to me.
Well, I guess the suggestion is if you want to go somewhere and take your weapon with you, we can't have concealed carry, but you can certainly have a weapon in something that doesn't obviously look like a weapon as you're going from your house to the trunk of your car, I would think.
Oh yeah, you can take guns apart or whatever, put them in a suitcase or anything. It's but I think that when you get to the point where that the people are so dumbed down that they think that anybody that has a gun is a criminal, well, the real problem is education, liberty, education, lack of it in what is supposed to be a free country.
Well, this is incredibly subjective too. Geolocate dangerous guns and owners. One gun owner could have a feud with another neighbor who's a gun owner, and they could report each other as being dangerous just because they don't like each other and want to get each other into trouble.
Yeah, it becomes a snitch society. It becomes horrible. It becomes this, you know, people spying on each other, a terrible culture to live in. And you've got people that are reporting people just because, oh, this guy had a black gun and it looks scary. And people have really silly ideas about what makes a gun illegal. And like it goes back to education. We have to get back to a culture that understands individual human liberties and rights, and that's what America is supposed to be based on, not fear and trying to make the state all-powerful protector and guardian, which it's not. Like Benjamin Franklin and many other people said, that those who want to have safety and liberty will have neither and soon lose both. It's not safe when the government is the only one that's allowed to have weapons. That's not a safe situation.
Sure, and if we can, step away from being paranoid and being afraid of other people and being afraid of our neighbors and make friends with our neighbors and promote community, these things would not be as effective against us because if we have formulated relationships, people are going to know that we're not a dangerous gun owner just because they know us.
I'm not a huge FDR fan, but the quote is great. The only thing that we have to fear is fear itself. And when we become a culture of fear, well, that's a terrible situation.
And a couple major news items that we didn't mention were the fact that Janet Napolitano resigned her post at the DHS, and Elizabeth Duke resigned her position as Federal Reserve Governor. So it seems that there are changes coming, probably positive changes.
Yeah, possibly. I wouldn't, it could be playing possum, could be going into hiding, could be giving DHS a less visible exposure with somebody that's not so easily vilified. You wouldn't necessarily call it a win. I would say it could be a positive development, definitely worth watching. And as far as the Fed the resignation goes, that was one of the big supporters of quantitative easing, one of the big supporters of Bernanke's money strategy, which has not worked out well, and we continue to believe that there are forces that are working to bring the global economy into away from fiat money and into asset-backed currencies, and maybe this is a step in that direction. Really, that's just speculation, but one can hope.
Absolutely. So, again, thank you for joining us this week for Pearls of Liberty.
And as we like to remind you every week, see the world the way that it really is. See yourself in it, walk your walk. You are the one you've been waiting for.